The recurring tragedy of tanker explosion leading to devastating casualty continued to lead to loss of lives and property, plunging the nation into a state of mourning. The recent incident is that of a tanker explosion in Diko, Niger State, claiming the lives of more than 80 people, scooping up petrol from a tanker with many receiving medical attention. The explosion was attributed to the use of a generator during the transfer of fuel from a falling tanker to another. The tanker, with registration number KBJ 103XAX, had loaded 60,000 liters of petrol from Lagos and was en route to Gwagwalada in the Federal Capital Territory when the body of the vehicle detached from its head. The victims who lost their lives or got injured were mostly scavengers who gathered to scoop fuel despite attempts to stop them. The fire from the explosion spread to another tanker, compounding the devastation. About 265 lives have been lost to tanker explosion in months, according to the federal government. This latest incident underscores the dangers of fuel-related accidents in Nigeria. While illegal scooping of petroleum products during accidents often result in fatalities, scores of people have been killed in similar incidents in recent years. On today's program, we'll explore the cause of a repeated tanker explosion and the dangers of scooping petrol after accidents. Thanks for joining us. I'm Eucharia Clinton, and this is Nigeria Today. Joining me here in the studio for the conversation is Assistant Corps Marshal Olusegun Ogungbemide. He's the Corps Public Education Officer of the Federal Road Safety Corps. You're welcome to Nigeria Today.
It's a pleasure to be here with you.
Okay, we'll just go into the conversation. This recent tanker explosion in Niger State, even though, of course, we've mentioned quite a few of the information we gathered from the reports. Tell us what,
Particular to the government of Niger State and the families of those that lost their lives, it is quite pathetic. When you look at the effort the Corps Marshal has put in place in the last 7 months, when he took over the mantle of leadership of Federal Road Safety Corps, you know that naturally it's going to be pained by the turn of events that happened recently. Because I recall that few weeks to the end of the year patrol activities, we had engagement with virtually all the stakeholders, the transport owners, the car owners, the truck owners, all tending towards reducing the rate of road traffic crashes on our roads, which actually paid off by virtue of the percentage of reduction that were recorded. But this one will always come up once in a while, unexpected. The incident that happened yesterday at Niger State, that's Abuja-Kaduna Road, where we have recorded close to 86 as at this hour, occurred around 10 a.m. when a vehicle that loaded heading towards Gwagwalada, like we were made to know, had his bucket tilted off the head and fell off the road, and there was spillage. And another vehicle, according to what we had, came to do decanting, that's transloading from the falling tanker into this the new one that was brought without due cognizance to a protocol of transloading, which is a very technical one. Even a vehicle that had its feet on the ground being transloaded needs extreme protocol to be complied with before we now mention the one that already had spillage. And I think that's where the problem occurred. And coupled to the fact that the scavengers, like we're made to know, were also at the point of scooping, which actually aggravated the entire thing. Because when you look at the primary crash that occurred, there was no casualty, just like the previous two. At the point of the crash, there was no casualty. So it's the aftermath of the process of transloading that created the problem that led to loss of lives and property.
Now you talked about without cognizance or without taking the normal protocol, you called it.
Yes.
Okay. Now talk to us. What exactly should have been done at that point that would have been right?
All over the world, crashes do occur, but the management of the aftermath of the crash is what made the difference. This international standard is, when you talk of the most dangerous vehicle in the entire world, it's a loaded tanker. So, and it's been given that priority worldwide. When you have a situation where you have a crash involving a loaded tanker, it is expected that the first thing that is done is to mobilize the rescue team. And you cannot talk of the rescue team when it comes to inflammable items without having the fire service on standby. That is the major one. If you notice what has been happening in, let me say, major cities like Lagos, the fire service will first of all douse the atmosphere by, spreading foams all over the tanker, just trying to manage the environment to make sure that, because we are talking of vapor, it's not even the liquid content that is inflammable. Is the vapor from the fuel that brings about the ignition that we're talking of. So the fire service will have been on standby. It's when they give the go-ahead that the transloading can take effect. But a situation where you know that there's no provision for fire service, you don't even make such attempt until it is certain, because no risk is expected to be taken. So the only thing that will have been required at that moment is the proper cordoning off of the entire vicinity for you to expect the arrival of the fire service, irrespective of the distance. But it's quite unfortunate because of the problems of this scooping that has come to be a trend in the recent time, because it becomes an embarrassment. For the incident that we witnessed at Jigawa few weeks or few months back, for it to come and repeat itself again is an indication that there's problem somewhere with our morals.
Okay, now, you talked about, in this case, the drivers, yes, the tanker drivers not complying with the due protocols and all of that, safety measures we are not taking cognizance of. So what is the federal road safety doing to reduce these, kinds of incidents on our roads? Because it's beginning to repeat, just like you rightly said, it's repeating again.
That is the main reason why the Corps Marshal gave the directive that every crash that will occur must be investigated, irrespective of the casualties or what have you. Every crash that involves articulated vehicles and tankers must be investigated. It will enable us to know the reason, and where we have those that are culpable, they will be made to face the necessary prosecution. Because all this while, maybe it has been a kind of, all free affair. When it happens, when you kill somebody, you go home as if nothing has happened. And nobody is made to pay the price. Like this incident that happened now, it's been investigated just like the previous ones. And those that are culpable, even the owner of the vehicle and the one that employed the drivers, and those that are involved that led to this crisis are going to be prosecuted accordingly. Because the system is well laid. We've done enough advocacy on the reason why we should be more cautioned. Prior to this time, we were having it happening all over before the introduction in 2007 of road safety standardization scheme, where we say it can't be all commerce affairs. Let us regulate the activities of all these road users, truck owners, where you are registered and you are given all the minimum requirements that is needed for you to have your safety requirement to operate on Nigerian roads. But what do you have? You still have pockets of individuals who feel they could escape the law, trying to circumvent the effort of the Corps. And that's why we say, okay, rather than running after all these trucks on the highway, is it not better to create a policy where we have our men operating at all the various depots, that before this vehicle is loaded, it must meet up to minimum safety standard? And that's what we've been doing for the past 15 years. And as of today, we have our operatives operating in more than 109 depots, active depots, all over the Federation. That is where what you are even seeing today that is so painful, that is so devastating, is even as minimal as what we are having. Like I said in the morning, we have more than 3,000 tankers loading all over the Federation on daily basis. You can see how huge. And the risk of moving all this fuel all over the Federation, still, we don't have it reoccurring as devastating as it will have been if not for all these policies that have been put in place. So most of what we have as a crisis now are more of human error. Because before you are loaded, definitely you must have met up with the minimum safety standard, except because we still have another situation where they load with vehicle with minimum safety standard, they go outside and transload to another one with less safety standard, which we might not really be aware of. And you know, if it comes to issue of enforcement, it's difficult for you to stop a vehicle that is loaded on transit when the driver is not willing to listen to you. That's why we say, rather than running after all these tankers on the highway and creating more problems for the motoring public, is it not better to meet them at their bases and make sure that before you are loaded, you must meet up? And that's what has really helped the situation till today. That's why in the last 3 crashes could occur, but life will not be involved. When I say life, at the primary point of crash, there was no crash. Niger, Jigawa, and even this one.
There was no life lost?
There was no life lost. It was aftermath that people started scooping or this issue of transloading. That is the extent to which we have been able to curtail the menace of these categories of road users.
Okay, thank you very much. We are going to take a short break now and hear the views of Nigerians on scooping fuel during, tanker accidents. Don't go away.
Thing that they're doing is wrong. The fact that fuel spilled on the floor and a tanker was in an accident, you're supposed to know that this is a fire hazard. You're supposed to know that this could cost me my life. But the fact that people are desperate now, people are so desperate, the prices of fuel has gone so high that people have lost their minds. They don't care about their safety. What they care about is the money that they will make from there.
The reason is ignorance. I believe that some people don't really know the dangers of going near falling tankers and the consequences it can lead to, like explosion and loss of lives.
I don't know, maybe they saw an opportunity to get an access to earn money. That's why they went into that. Although it's a very dangerous situation, I think the government should create an awareness or campaign regarding educating the dangers.
Welcome back. This is still Nigeria Today. We are looking at the dangers of skipping fuel. When we have tanker accidents on our highways. And of course, we have a gentleman here in the studio from the Federal Road Safety Corps. Now, back to you. You had the responses there from the people. As much as we say, okay, things are a little bit, difficult in the country, but does it really, warrant people to throw away their consciousness, their safety consciousness, and just go out there to risk their lives? So what is the responsibility of people, talking about the pedestrians, the motorists, when situations like this occur?
When you say it has to do with poverty, this is not the first time we'll be experiencing this. I could remember more than 10 years ago when such thing occurred in some part of the western region. We still saw people scooping fuel. It's like it's a natural thing. When people see something as free, the tendency for them to go and have a share is always what is the cause of this problem. Because you can't see danger and still be thinking of the pecuniary aspect of it, undermining the danger lurking around it. I just told you we lost close to 200 Jigawa as a result of this same incident. And someone would just have the guts, the mind to still get himself endangered. I think when it comes to issue of advocacy, we have never failed in that regard. Even our research as a result of the last one confirmed that this thing occur mostly towards the northern side. And the Corps Marshal mandated that there must be a dedicated special advocacy program on all the radio stations in the north as regards general road safety and this particular incident, which is still running. That if we feel, okay, maybe they don't understand the grammar and English that we are saying, let us go down to the dialects and get across to the grassroots. And we have our operatives in virtually more than 350 commands distributed all over the federations, where they go to motor parks and go to communities. They go to churches and mosques, all still giving public education on the reason why we should play safe. A situation where you see a tanker fell, the first instinct that should come to your mind is danger, and everybody should take off from there. Even as security agency, we don't go closer until we see the arrival of the fire service, who must have done the necessary before we can. Because when we say we cordon off, the way I will cordon off a tanker without fuel is different from the way I would cordon off a tanker with fuel.
Fully loaded.
Fully loaded, 60,000 liters that got involved in a crash. So I should know that danger is somewhere. And one funny thing about this is, one terrible thing about fuel is the extent to which the steam goes, the extent the fire goes. So we don't take it for granted. Imagine this one, we pleaded with people to stay off, but they were recalcitrant until the ignition took off. And the speed is always almost with the speed of light. So the advocacy is what we continue to give, especially like I told you, the crashes never brought about the fatality. It's the scooping that brought about all these huge casualty that we have recorded even in the last few incidents. So we continue to talk. Thank God for the directive of Mr. President that the national orientation should move down to the grassroots, because FRSC, by virtue of our commands, and we deal more with motoring public, not people in villages. The people that came to scoop the fuel are not motoring public. They are people like that of Jigawa. 12 midnight, they started calling themselves from villages to come and see free fuel. Even some line up their family members to come and pick fuel.
No, before you even continue, sorry to cut you short. From the report we had, there was a generator there.
Yes.
There was a generator
that
was used to transload.
To transload.
But is it safe to use a generator
Is
where they have
is the same thing we just... I said even the one that didn't spill, the protocol never allows such to be done. Before you now mention the one that you know there are... And at least before you came with the generator, you must have seen people scooping fuel. I wouldn't know what entered the mindset of whoever that perpetrated that. And I want to believe the government will not allow such people to go unpunished for this devastating action that led to the death of these people.
So, in your now, we also understand that most of the time these vehicles take off at night.
Yes.
Okay, and of course, your men cannot be there.
You're right.
24/7 to
right.
monitor them. So, how are you leveraging technology to, also ensure safety on our highways?
Part of the meeting, the engagement the Corps Marshal had before the new year was to give an elaborate outlook on what we call total experience. Today, we have the major marketers, we have the other non-major marketers, and the bulk of the problem we are having tilts towards the non-major marketers, because the major marketers have a very corporate and articulate means of curtailing the activities of the truck and the truck drivers, which is lacking at this other side. The essence of total experience is, what are the things that Total does that is making them to record in the last 5 years 0 road traffic crashes, despite the number of road traffic trucks carrying fuel all over the Federation without recording a single crash? What do they have? They have a tracking system that monitors the activities of their drivers from the point of loading to the point of discharge. They have the best of welfare for their staff. When you take off, when it is 7 o'clock or 6 p.m., you are expected to park irrespective of where you are and rest for the days. And again, The law says after 4 hours of continuous movement, you are expected to take about 30 minutes rest. And in addition to that, they have a standard training institute where before you are engaged as a driver to drive their truck, you go through this training, and it's annually. There's no rocket science to safety. It has to be deliberate, it has to be determined. You can imagine a truck owner buying about 500 new trucks or trucks to start oil business. Where did you get the 500 drivers from? The way you drive a truck without content is different from the way you drive a truck with content. Are these drivers, do they have the proficiency to manage all these trucks? How many driving schools of truck drivers do we have in the entire federation? So where are they getting these drivers from? That's why we talk of human error being the major cause. Because like this one that happened, how did he assess the road that he drove to the point where the bucket of the truck tilted off the head? The same road you applied that you said a problem was created, thousands of trucks or tankers must have passed through the same road because maybe they know how to manipulate or maneuver the road better or the truck better. So this is the experience the Corps Marshal said we should adopt for virtually all the tankers in the Federation today so that we reduce this level of casualties. And, well, we got the buy-in of the truck owners, and the process is still ongoing.
Is there a way you also try to ascertain that, these drivers are qualified to be on the highway, especially when it has got to do with articulated vehicles like this? Because your level of expertise or experience or whatever you use in driving the normal cars,
vehicles, yes,
the other vehicles is not the same you use in driving these bigger vehicles. Are there ways you ensure that? That's just I just mentioned now. We can't achieve this without the truck owners corporation, because I can spend 1 hour to give advocacy to millions of drivers, but I can spend five hours trying to manage a driver on the highway. And I don't know how you call it. You know what we have experienced in the past. When you try to stop a tanker on the highway, what do you see in most cases? Others will park. At times they block the road. And we say, no, that's why we brought in this issue of safe to load. The road is not where we fight or correct these people. The only thing that we can continually do is to give advocacy and to also bring up a policy with the cooperation of other stakeholders that when this vehicle is not loaded, he cannot force himself to go and get loaded. And that is what we have enjoyed in the last few years. But without the cooperation of the vehicle owners too, that you cannot get your property that you spent millions of naira and give it to the hands of a novice. Do you know what we also experience? That at times, when the driver got tired, he will hand over the vehicle to a motorboy while he's resting. Okay, just before you go, in 30 seconds, give us a parting words to because at the end of the day, this accident was not, it's not really that it happened at the point of the crash, but people came to scoop.
Exactly.
What would be your words to Nigerians who see situations like this and think that they can cash in on it?
Just in the words of the Corps Marshal Shehu Mohammed, accidents don't just occur, they are caused. And fatalities and casualties that you see aftermath of all these crashes that involve tankers don't just occur, but people are the architect of what they see. When it involves a vehicle that is carrying fuel, inflammable items, please, I want to plead with members of the public, stay away from such vehicle. Allow the rescue emergency team to do their work. Because irrespective of the money you think you are going to gain or make from these items you are scooping, your life is more important. Those that are gone now. They won't be there to scoop another one again. So the safety of everybody is a shared responsibility. All of us must put our hands on deck and get things right.
Thank you very much. That was Assistant Corps Marshal Olusegun Ogungbemide. He's a Corps Public Education Officer of the Federal Road Safety Corps. Thank you so much for your time
it's a
and
pleasure.
your contribution. And thank you for being part of the program. I'm Ikaria Clinton. Goodbye.